Hi, Richard. Um, so we are having an interview recorded today about the general topic of art,
Hmm.
and yeah, I'm really excited to have you and see what you think about it. And so I would just like to start. Maybe you can just share what's your background or how you experience art in your life, or what's the place for it in your life.
Well, I wouldn't consider myself an artist per se, but I would consider myself a creative type. I do think there are different types of people, and we can say that some people are creators, and that the ability to create content that has an impact on other people, and that changes how people think and changes how people feel seems to be, unfortunately, directly correlated with suffering and proportionate to suffering. So, where there's been chaos and where there's been discontent and agitation, the creation of high quality content, because anybody can just pump stuff out, but stuff that actually speaks to people en masse and in a way that changes the way they think and the way they feel. Those two things seem to correlate. And this has been on my mind a lot, particularly recently when you sent me the message, is the correlation between suffering and the drive to put out content, to create and to for artistic expression, and the ability to do so effectively, because not everybody who wants to pump out content is putting out good stuff. A lot of it is shit. And people will always use the argument, well, art is subjective. And to which I reply, no, not really, because we have consensus over what good art is. And we do have consensus over what bad art is. I can't scribble a load of crap on a piece of paper and say, oh, I'm being abstract. I'm the new Picasso, because people who know art will say, no, you're not. So they're seeing something, and there is a general consensus for quality. And it's like when you read, I have more of an understanding of writing. So if you can call that art, which some people would, there is a quality of presence of mind that is there in good writing that is absent in bad writing. So when we're comparing any page at random from, say, 50 Shades of Grey versus Blood Meridian as two examples of literature, 50 Shades of Grey is observably and verifiably dog shit, and Blood Meridian is observably and verifiably very high quality fiction. But where do these come from? There are certain, I think, attributes that come up time and again. One is suffering, another is commitment, and another is a presence of mind. They come from a place of a high presence of mind.
But you think suffering is kind of the catalyst to put pressure on the individual to start searching for something, and maybe even start searching for beauty, or yeah, I mean meaning, or there's many ways of expressing something, and I think something that is kind of dark, or like yeah, let's just say dark, but it can be dark in a very beautiful way, or dark in a just destructive and unconscious way. Like I'm angry, and so I paint an angry picture, or I'm angry but I know what happened to made me angry. And like, I think art is also a big deal about the experience that one has made in its life. And for me, like I painted a lot, and then I just stopped for traveling and having inboard journeys and blah blah blah. And without any practice of painting, I came back to the canvas and I started painting, and it had more depth. And so I think, what do you think makes a good artist, or is everybody an artist? But yeah, I have a question about is everybody an artist, and should we all do art?
Within what you just released there in the last 45 seconds, there's actually 4 or 5 really good questions.
Okay.
I could hear them because this is my job. But I think if people listening to you, they probably wouldn't have heard what the questions were. So let's start to untangle that. Yes, everybody has the capacity for creative expression, and I would never take away somebody's right to creative expression. And I'm not a snob. Fundamentally, when it comes to coaching and leading people towards healing, I think there's plenty of scope to say that everybody could do with picking up a pen and picking up a paintbrush every once in a while and seeing what comes out, because you really don't know what might come out. I recently came off social media for a month and I started writing poetry, and I did it casually. I just was like, I was bored because I wasn't scrolling through fucking Instagram all the time. And so I started writing poetry, and then I'd come back to it and I'd change it, and I'd come back to it and I'd go, no, that word's not right there. It'll be more beautiful if it goes here. And that process was really, really, really pleasing to me. It really helped. And I found it healing. I don't know that it's good poetry. There's like, I wrote a lot, and there's like probably 3 lines where I'm like, that's good. The rest, it's not great. It's like, it's the kind of thing I would expect an angst-ridden 18-year-old who wrote it, who would think it was really deep, but it's not great. So it's the, everybody has the ability and everybody should grasp it. The point that I started out with was really to say, in the culture that we have, that we now live in, that we've created either consciously or unconsciously, there is an attitude of entitlement. And because of reality TV shows, particularly reality TV shows that focus around people's ability, like singing or dancing or acting or whatever, there is an attitude of, I have a right to state that I am a creative person. And also because of the way they construct the drama of the reality TV shows, I've watched the German ones. They have exactly the same structure as the English ones, which have the same structure as the American ones, of course. Human psychology is global. The idea that if the person who's going to sing their stupid song has suffered because their mother is in pain or their father has abandoned them, and they play sad music, and we're to sit there and go, oh God, I really hope Timmy sings his song well, doesn't objectively change the fact of whether Timmy has the natural ability and the training. Clear, I'm not a suffering fetishist. I'm not a masochist. And I don't believe, there are some people who claim that suffering always improves the character. And I can tell you for a fact from my job, it does not. Some people suffer, and because of the extent of their suffering, their character is destroyed. They become bitter. They become psychotic. They become schizophrenic. They become, they lose track of reality. So I'm not a fetishist. My point was more along the lines of, look, in order to do what you do when you're painting, you have to be thinking in terms of a skill that's developed over a lifetime. You have to be thinking in decades. It really is decades. Like, I'm a good public speaker. That's an art form that has taken decades to put together. In this day and age, people don't think in terms of craftsmanship like that. They don't think in terms of a lifetime. They go, well, I'll just download an app and learn how to do it. No, you won't. No, you won't. Because your art will stink. It will suck. It will look. It won't move people. It will only attract the attention of people who are at the same dumb level that you're at. So it's having that respect for craftsmanship. Maybe we could talk in terms of craftsmanship or craftswomanship. And in order to be bothered to spend decades learning how to hold a brush properly, learning how to formulate words in a way that is pleasing to the ear and that evokes emotion, you have to have suffered, because why else would you bother? I coach a lot of musicians. A lot of singers and musicians are attracted to the work that I do, and it's the same thing for them. They're these are people who picked up guitars when they were 8 years old. What am I going to do at age 40? So come on now, am I going to learn to fucking play guitar like they can? It'll never. It's very unlikely that I'm going to get to their level. So there is this issue of craftsmanship, and I think in order to go through the repetition and tedium and boredom and failure again and again and again of getting it wrong so that you can get it right once, you must be driven by something, I think.
It's funny that you mentioned the craftsmanship, because actually I never thought about art. I mean, I was doing stuff, but of course in the society nobody encourages you. At least most parents don't encourage you to go be an artist, because it's like you're not safe and like getting your money easily and blah blah blah. And then occasionally I was a painter for, like, I was painting houses. You know, that was my training, to paint houses for 3 years, and I was like and stuff at 7 in the morning. And then after that I thought, what the fuck am I doing? But I really learned to, like, basic stuff like lines and all this stuff. But still, I think technique is not what gives the art the soul. So I think there are many people who have a very strict education with drawing and stuff, and they can paint a perfect like photorealistic apple in oil or something. And I think yeah, that's cool, but sometimes I still don't feel anything. Like, it can be like technically very like wow, impressive, but I don't feel something. And I think there are many artists like Basquiat who has a like very like childish painting skill, which is why should it be bad? But the expression is still much bigger than in many like super sophisticated artists nowadays. And so what do you think what do you think makes the soul speak through art?
Yeah, I mean, it's that's a good question, and it's good to frame it as, what do you think makes the soul speak through art? Because you can't have this kind of conversation without them touching on spirituality, at least the shallow end of the conversation of spirituality, because there is a presence there in the writing. And there was a Japanese writer that I have read a lot of, who's a martial arts instructor, and he talks about that which is truly written is in spirit that's in the blank spaces. There was a Chinese, that guy was Japanese, who said that. When I was 18, I went, my best friend from childhood is Chinese, and he made me go. I didn't want to go. He forced me to go and listen to a lecture by a Chinese painter and calligrapher, who delivered the lecture in Chinese in Liverpool to a bunch of English people. But he showed us what he was saying. And he was talking about, as my friend was translating, the chi and the spirit that is delivered through the calligraphy, and your stance and your breathing. And then he picked up the brush, and he started to draw. And he said, in Chinese drawing, in Chinese art, what is more important is that which is left out rather than that which is drawn. And he started by drawing a perfect circle. And from this circle, he then went on to draw in the minimal number of brush strokes a panda eating a piece of bamboo. A sad panda. Like, this was the last panda alive, and it was looking into your eyes as if to say, I'm going to fucking die and I'm the last panda alive. This was when they were endangered. This is like 20 years ago. But it started with this circle, and this guy went blah 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 blah, whoom, and drew a circle, and that was the pupil of the panda's eye, and it had spirit in it straight away, so that when it was finished, and he finished that inside of 15 minutes, it was fucking incredible. He drew a sad-eyed panda that's looking at you as if to say, I'm the last panda alive and I'm going to die. And you feel sad looking at it, but it started with a circle. How? You can't, I'm like, how? You can't teach that. Like you just said, technically, how the fuck am I going to teach somebody how to do that? So there is the spirit of something that is there. And when it has no spirit, you feel it. It feels empty. It feels like trash.
Right. That's super interesting. Like you touched on spirituality, and that was actually a topic that I'm also pretty drawn towards. And I am not really interested in art history or in like any rules about technique or how to like use oil paint and blah blah blah. That's the way. No. Like I just experiment. And what you said about like this eye. When I think about my interpretation, how, like I paint someone. And so if I have an idea about this person and like want to like put something in it, it will always feel like little low, like so human, so personal, so like, there, like to a personality, there is so much to a human being, there's so much. And if I like put my idea on something, that I'm painting, then it will be only this level. And so for me, also with abstract painting, it's rather like intention. I just set an intention, like raw thing. Like I just want to paint something beautiful, and without any other idea, just the pull towards painting is just happening, and I just make one stroke, and something else happens. And with training, like, then you see patterns, you start to recognize, wow, what's happening here. And there is a like composition that is like, it can be a good composition or not so good. And I really feel like, even if with my fellow art student mates, they are so in their head, like when they see something, they have such a short attention span to actually feel the artwork. Yeah, I think that's a problem, because the art has to become therefore much more pop and much more entertaining. And I think we have enough entertainment in the world.
Well, this is interesting, because recently, and I mean like last week, I went to Barcelona and I was taken to an art gallery, again against my will. Standing in art galleries is just not, I'll be honest with you, it's not something I do. And the young girl, I say young, late 20s, who owns the art gallery, had made pop art. And it was rock icons and TV shows that were on Netflix. And she'd layered them together, and it was a little bit abstract. And you would say, this is the most, derivative, unoriginal stuff ever. It was good. It was good. Actually, some of what she had done, I was looking at it and I was going, I find this moving. And I'm going, why? This is not like high art. This is like stuff that students would put on their walls to try and look a bit edgy and a bit cool. And it was actually really good. But it's hard to talk about it without talking spirituality. The Zen-like quality of focus. I'm like, this is the work of an intelligent human being who has an idea, a vision inside of her head of what she wants to express. So now this picture of David Bowie with the eyes cut out and laser beams coming out of them, I'm like looking at him going, that makes me feel sad, and not in a way that I don't enjoy. Like, that's actually, wow, what the fuck have you done there? It was really, really good. So there is a quality of expression there. And I think it's hard to not hard to talk about, impossible to talk about. But again, to use Eastern philosophy, this is what they would say in Taoism. If you can name Taoism, if you can speak Taoism, it's not Taoism. The jazz artists of the 20s, they would say, if you can talk about jazz, that's not jazz. It has to be felt. It has to be experienced. So there is like a philosophy of art there that probably, maybe they should teach. I don't know if you are taught that, but like being able to get into a meditative state that's non-conscious, that's intuitive, that allows the unconscious to speak.
I think that's a topic that's like, very, very not much spoken of. And they're like, people talk so much in the artwork. They are so eloquent and intellectual and refer to so much like incoherent, random, weird shit that it's so like, wow, you know about that guy, you know, like I don't care. Like I want children to go into a museum and just like stand there and enjoy it and just like, oh look, yeah, you know, it's. I don't want people who are think they are educated to go there and say like, yeah, I know, blah 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 blah, and they're just standing there exchanging informations and not feeling anything of the artwork, you know.
That's how I got dragged to the art seminar by the Chinese guy, because I said to my friend, I said, your subject is bullshit, because he was an artist. And I said, your subject is bullshit. I said, I can video my foot and make it black and white and put a soundtrack on it of children screaming and call it art. And I will get a good grade. I'm sure you've seen that video. Every fucking art college has that video. And I will get a good grade if I can write eloquently in English about the psychological meaning of my childhood trauma manifested in my foot. And the art teacher will say, this is good if it's well written. And he laughed. He was like, yeah, that is kind of true. Like I've seen bullshit that if you wrote something eloquent about it, it would do well. We both had a mutual friend who was a diagnosed schizophrenic who did amazing comic book art, superheroes, brilliant, but got shit grades because the teachers were like, what is this childish nonsense? But he was very, very skilled at what he did. So the college is called Withens Lane. It's famous in the Northwest. So that's why I went there, so that he could prove to me that there is something more to it than that. But no, I agree with you 100%. I think it's become this weird, it's like a literary exercise. As you say, we're exchanging information, we're exchanging theory and history and words about pictures. And I'm like, that's insane. That's insane to me. I don't get that. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. You said about this Taoism and stuff, and I completely feel that. Like even when I make the strokes thing, there is like, I need to breathe. I need to like have a space. Like when I think about it, it will become worse. It's really just like reducing myself, and then from a natural, it's just clear. Like okay, here, this, blah, blah, blah. It's just happening, and like. Can I show you one thing here?
Sure.
You see it?
Yes, I can, yeah.
So I think that's a little bit of like the space between the, you know,
right,
what we've been talking about. And it's a composition, and, you know, like, and it's not for me like why it's good or why it's bad. You know, I don't have much to tell about it, or like I didn't make so many ideas about it.
Yeah, you don't have a 5,000 word dissertation about it.
Yeah. But I just like from my common sense or feeling, I just.
Well, this is you know, when I suppose when the art critics are pontificating and they say things like the artwork is honest or the artwork is brave, they are pointing to something. Like you just feel it. You just know if something is an honest endeavor. Similarly, you know if somebody is being derivative, or they're trying to prove a point, or they're coming from ego. And this is why artists and musicians and writers can go up and down. They're humans. Like some of their art is amazing and some of it is shit. It's just drudgery. And it doesn't matter the field, you know, the Game of Thrones, right? Not all of those books is really well written. Not some of them are shit. It's just bad writing, but some of it is good, and it evokes the spirit of something that resonates with enough people for there to be critical mass to go, this is a story worth telling. This is a story that has mythological qualities, and it's relevant to this period of human history. You know, so that's why what I like to sort of try and reinforce when I'm talking to people about this kind of thing is when you look at artwork from other eras, we can't really see it, not the way they did. We can't ever know what people in the Renaissance, when they saw religious artwork, we can't, because you'd have to strip away television, modern technology, every book you've ever read, every other piece of art. You've got to, and I'm always like, I try and go back and think, what would that have looked like? You know, like when we look at Greek sculptures and we go, oh, this is a Greek sculpture. And you go, it's not, because when they looked at it, it was colored. They were painted. They were never white. They're all painted. And you think, God, that would look shit. That would look fucking like now they have this nice minimalist, they're white. Yeah. But no, they would have drawn the eyes, they would have made the cheeks pink. And if I showed you one of them now, you'd be like, oh dude, that's really bad. You need to clean that shit off. But that's how they were. They were like supposed to be as lifelike as possible. So they were consuming and enjoying that artistic experience in a much more naive way, which must be something that I think you guys in the art world must encounter. Is like, we, generally speaking, the humans you're offering art to are so overstimulated and so like well versed and have seen so much color and so much spectacle in their lives that, you know, it must have an impact on the art world.
The social media and the short attention span is something that I want to talk about. You mentioned the short attention span, or I did, and I was, I just want to get your idea about what can we what can we do to make it art enjoyable again, or like make it less entertaining and more about I don't know, like evolving your soul or like personality, or like I think art can do so much if it's coming from a certain point of honesty. Like it can be even like somebody having a trauma and then like making very intense stuff, but it's like it's real. You can feel the horror of Francis Bacon, but it's not a cheesy or not even creepy, because it's so real. It's like you can feel something that's like horrible, and I think that can make suffering people like soothe their suffering, because they feel they are not alone. Like when you paint something so horrible, like for example Francis Bacon stuff, I think you feel like this person had like suffered a lot, and so like I'm not so alone with my suffering.
What's the most horrifying Francis Bacon picture in your opinion? The one that fills you with the most horror?
Oh, that's hard to say. I don't have one. Like,
oh, so generally speaking, all of them are quite horrifying.
Yeah.
So the only way to bring that back, say we took, I'm speaking now as a experimental psychologist, we'll take 6 15-year-olds who are digital natives, who've been raised with smartphones and social media. First thing, we take away the smartphone, we take away all social media use. Then we take them out into the wilderness, presumably with their consent and their parents' consent. And maybe for 2 or 3 weeks, you have a process of rewilding and putting them back into nature and cleaning away the perspective filters, so that really all they have is trees and rivers and stars. And slowly all of the software viruses die. And because they're young, the neuroplasticity kicks in and they'll heal quickly. 21 days later, no TV, no radio, no phones, very low tech experience. If you then sit them down and say, okay, let's take a minute to look at these pictures, and let's just sit and take a look at any one of these Francis Bacon pictures and just say, what do you see? How do you feel? Then there'll be the mental random access memory there in the machine to actually ingest, to see it and to ingest it and go, holy fuck, what is that? And to be bothered, because you would want to, because you've not seen anything other than that which is natural. Now you're looking at something man-made. You might invoke a desire to actually sit there for 10, 15, 20 minutes and the amount of information they're given now, I wouldn't expect them to look at a still picture that wasn't moving, screaming, flashing lights, tits everywhere, torture everywhere. Why would I look at that? I'm not going to look at that. There's some boring old shit. I'm not looking at it. So they would really need to be cleansed first. That sounds kind of religious. I mean, their perspective filters would need to be cleaned up first before they would be bothered to do that. Then they could learn to appreciate art, maybe.
Yeah, that's true, but pretty sad. What's the purpose of art in a society?
The purpose of art in a society. I would want to answer that question from the point of view of a rebel or a dissenter. And the art shouldn't have purpose to a society. Art should be the last bastion of non-purposefulness to a society, so that it always has the freedom to say, fuck you, if the society and the culture is going the wrong way. When art has purpose to a society, I would always be worried. You know, to raise the ghost of World War II, Churchill went to great lengths to protect our art in Britain from the bombings. And you think, I was always very disturbed by that. And he had this great quote. People said, it was a great quote. He said, we must preserve our art and our culture so we know why we fight. And I remember thinking as a kid when I heard that, like, so you'll protect paintings and burn people to death at the same, and like within the same week. Like, I will protect this artwork. Yeah, burn those people to death. Those civilians, they need to die now. And I remember thinking, fucking hell, that's really sick. So I don't think art should be purposeful to a society. I think art and artists should always be the mad people who stand outside of society. And I personally get very uncomfortable when art is used. On the flip side of the coin, look at what the Nazi regime did with art. It was they had a purpose for it. And it's really, you know, what they did with the music, what they did with certain artworks that they loved, what they did with Wagner, what they did with the literature, what they did with Nietzsche. That was all art. And it found a purpose in society. And you go, ooh, no, that's not what any of those people wanted. You know, maybe Wagner would have been okay with it, but Nietzsche would have been appalled by how his work was used. So may art ever be purposeless to a society. May it never have a use to a society.
I absolutely get it, but I just like the purpose of art is, of course, always this, and I would rather like to explain a little bit more how it is like the last fortress for beauty, creativity, natural expression, without purpose, without having to sell, without having to work, without having to be a certain way appropriate or anything. It can just be what it wants to be. And therefore, the purpose, I think the purpose for art in a society might be to be this little flag or island somewhere where you can, like, okay, this is the society, but there's something else. Like, there are people living in a different reality, in a different way, and have different values also. And I think in values, what's very interesting to like coming back to spirituality, if I think of myself not just as a person like, hey, that's me, I'm 25, I'm here in Germany, blah blah blah, like not just my story and shit, like if I go to this video game analogy, like I'm the soul and this is just an avatar, one life of many lives, and like have a grander picture, then I can say like, okay, everything is one, everything like is like the expression of one being that only purpose for existence in like infinity is just to express itself. And I think to like forget about this world, forget about the problems we have, forget about anything you want to heal or blah blah blah, just see yourself as a being, like part of the unity of all, and exploring in mysterious way itself by creating something. And I think that's what I love. Like that's like the reason to paint, not because it's like cool or like, oh, I love painting. It's just amazing every time again when you paint something without like having a clue about it. But in the end, it makes so much sense. It feels like there's an intelligence working through you that is much more everything than I could ever come up with this mind. And so like yeah, that's the to lead to the next question. What place has spirituality or like kind of channeled art for you? Like there's this sophisticated thing where people just intellectually go, but there's also a different level.
Well, hang on. To come back to your last question, which is a good question, and you could go at it for hours. I may have listened to too much of Slavoj Žižek. Do you know the Slovenian philosopher Slavoj Žižek? He's a psychoanalyst, and he's a Marxist communist. And what you just said at the end there about art being a form of expression of something mysterious, so that something can speak through you. We were talking about art's place in society. The capacity of the individual to express the mysterious in an intelligent way, to me, should be the organizing principle of tribal-based culture. So you're talking to a full-on revolutionary. I believe in tearing the culture we have down. Like, it's poison, I believe. So what I don't want is to have art being, I don't know how Slavoj would put it, but art could end up being like a religion. It could be like the opiate of the masses. It's like, we're ready to revolt. Fuck this system. Let's go. Come on, comrades. We have nothing to lose but our chains. And then people go, but when you travel on the subway to work, don't they show you Picasso? Don't you get to see this beautiful art and hear the beautiful, and doesn't, I don't want it ever to be the thing that stops people from moving forward. I want it to be something that the individual embraces. I don't have much ideas for society as a whole. I actually, at this point in my life, don't think that we can say what huge groups of people should do. And every time we try and say that, it always goes fucking horribly wrong. Our minds may only be evolved to think in terms of tribes of 50 to 100 people. So I would love to have that question inverted so that we say, okay, it's actually the spontaneous principle of intelligent creativity and expression of mystery to factory so they can pay their taxes and organize them on the way home in that sense. So I just wanted to make that point. You asked me a question about spirituality. Could you ask it again?
So it was just general about what's the place for spirituality or like channeled art, which of course you cannot say, like if you go to a gallerist and say like I'm channeling, they say like, yeah, you're an esoteric guy, I'm not interested in working with you. So it's also hard to communicate. Like people want to hear something and like, yeah, I'm like quoting this artist and like having my own twist in it, and like it's super clever what I did here, and you see I can hold the brush as well. and then say like, yeah, now I have something to talk about and sell. You know, people want to hear a story. People like, why is it good? Ah, okay, darling, yeah, should we buy it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. He had like this text, so it should be worth 5K. You know.
He had this 5,000 word dissertation, which was really well written. So yes.
And also, like, because you mentioned the Taoism and the guiding principle, and I think it's completely right. It's so hard to say. There's so many perspectives, how to govern a society, how to like organize people, what do they want, what do they have to maybe experience and go through and whatever, you know, like we cannot make it in a box. It doesn't work. But I think, which is also in the Tao Te Ching, written, this like Tao, the nothingness, the space, where like this intelligent flows through you. I think this, like when I paint some of my paintings and have this certain kind of harmony flowing into the picture, I think this would be the same harmony that a politician could access. And based on this like Taoism, without a system, he would always make the right decision in every moment. So it's not like we have this system, and so like according to this we have to do this right now. No, it's every situation, every moment, like 1, 2, 3, you know, like it's always the right decision, not because he's not there. There's no personality to like interfere with ideas and opinions and fears and whatever. It's just like openness. And I think that's also a purpose of art in our very young society. Yeah. But yeah.
What I would say, what I would reiterate is, I agree with you. I just don't want art to become a pressure valve, so that we get our little micro release and don't do anything too drastic. Just yes, you can listen to Nine Inch Nails and you can wear fishnet stockings and smash a synthesizer and scream about Satan, but don't please have a revolution. As long as you go back to work on Monday morning, everything's okay. You know? So that, and I do think art unfortunately functions that way, from film to music to everything. And it's obviously it's not deliberate, but it's kind of, our society is so insanely structured, and the mask of sanity that everybody has to wear, we are driven to lust for the chaos of the unconscious. So we get microbursts of it through the artwork. I like the idea of a politician being influenced by art in that way. But maybe it's because I'm older and more cynical. I couldn't say it. I would just say, you know, during my revolution, just hang him, he's a politician, just hang him. I'm joking. So it might be that we're talking about more primal forces, and you might be talking about the dynamic between order and chaos, and art may represent that which cannot be spoken, whereas order is always spoken. It is the word. It is the word made flesh, whereas art never is. And recently I've been thinking about David Lynch, and thinking about the last series of Twin Peaks. I don't know if did you see that one? It's really confusing, and it really pissed a lot of the fans off, and it was hard to see what he was doing. And I've been thinking about it a lot, going, what the hell was he trying to say? And one of the things that I suspect, because it is so confusing and it has so many odd elements to it, is it's almost like he's trying to push into the face of the audience, like, your conscious mind can only explain so much, and only art can fill in the gaps, and you will fail. So the main character is a detective, and ultimately it's the story of how this well-intentioned detective fails, even though he's a good guy and he does everything right, and he fails because the conscious mind can only take us so far. And it's the unconscious, it's the symbolic, the perhaps darker, more chaotic self that really holds the total truth that we know, but we deny, we push away, as Freud would call it, a fetishist split. So we know, but we do not know. So we push it away, and then it manifests in little microbursts through art, which is like little bits of unconscious chaos just bursting through. So yeah, I suspect the dynamic is probably more that way. And if people wrap their heads around it, they would go, okay, when I sit down to my canvas, what I'm doing is probably in some sense an act of rebellion, even though I'm only painting like flowers. It's an act of rebellion, and it's the capacity for me to access my unconscious and to access the realm of pure potentiality, which is chaos, is going to influence how impactful my art is, even if my fucking technical, as you said, like your capacity to draw the line, just not perfect. Well, nothing's perfect. Just fucking do it. Just get it out.
Right. And I think even painting a flower can be super political. Like for me, it's like the consciousness and like it's all connected. And just by me living in a reality where like if I would think about a world that I would like to live in or a life that I would like to live, what would I do? And apparently that was just a bold decision that I make and just lived it. Like I just from one day to the next, I just started painting every day without having to explain to someone why they should give money to me, or like I just did what I really wanted to do. And also with a mindset of like, I'm not disconnected. This is not a random reality. Like I can create my life. And so, dear universe, I would like to fucking paint every day, contribute something beautiful, and therefore have a absolute value for society. And it's not about, yeah, you're not working. Yeah, I am working. It's fucking mind-boggling to do art without anybody telling you what to do, And yeah, so I think just living like this, like if we had peace on this planet, if we like everybody would be fine, we had enough to eat, we like everything would be good, and we wouldn't kill each other anymore. What would we do every day? Like maybe do paint. I think a lot of people would paint, a lot of people would like do like artistic stuff and like just expressing beauty, expressing joy, expressing stuff like this. And I hope that someday it will be some kind of that.
Yeah,
But
if we had peace on the planet, people would break out in war over the peace. We are animals. I mean, we are in a certain state of evolution, and unfortunately, again, I perhaps it's my cynicism, but there's a hard wiring towards violence that has to be deliberately trained out of people, and we've done it in a top-down way, like you must obey. But anytime you push down on something, it's bound to burst back the other way. In ancient times, it wasn't done top down; it was done from the inside out, where you'd say, you want to kill people, of course you do, that's natural, but you're going to cultivate virtue, you're going to cultivate discipline, and you will express yourself artistically so that you don't bash your neighbor's head in with a rock. That's what you're going to do, and that's more of what we need. But you can't do that en masse. That becomes the craftsmanship of a teacher. One of the problems that we have now with trying to do everything en masse for huge populations is we're proving time and again it doesn't work. You can't do it. I can only really positively impact 4 or 5 people at a time if I'm doing like a group training session. Any more than that, and my psychic energy is dissipated. And I don't even mean psychic energy in a spiritual way. I mean it in a psychological way, in the way that Jung would have had it, which is I have a certain amount of time and attention I can give to you and to your problems. Now, if there's 5 of you, okay. If there's 15 of you, suddenly the jam is now being spread very, very thin across 15 different pieces of bread. So it doesn't work very well. But yeah, I mean, it's a critical issue, and I do think you're right. If there was peace, and people were not forced into wage slavery, then yes, they would definitely produce more art, and there would be a lot more enjoyment of that. Because I do think there are healing properties to art in and of itself, even if it is extremely dark, even if it is violent, even if it's terrifying. There's still healing properties intrinsic to the artwork.
Yeah. Just to go back to like uh, the origins. What do you think are the origins of art, like in the caves, and why people started to like do something? Like they like back then they really had issues and tigers, but they still started to like express something.
Our peculiar perversion in the animal kingdom as human beings is our agitated drive to produce symbols. The aliens who made us, who spliced their DNA with monkeys to make us, they did that for a reason. Like it's, I'm only half joking. We are clearly out of step with other animals and out of step with our own environment, which is why we torture, murder, and consume other animals en masse, and why we destroy the environment. We are cancerous to the planet. But part of our drive, we're hypersexual in a way that no other animal is, and I think that that was deliberately provoked. And we're obsessed with creating symbols. And that is what art is. It is a symbolic representation of that which is, no matter symbolic representation of something. To you, it might be the best representation of a particular emotional state or a level of consciousness. I may ingest it through my perception and go, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel when I'm excited to go do something or whatever. But symbols, we're agitatedly driven to create symbols, and then we're agitatedly driven to consume symbols. We're a very symbolic entity. We're hypersexual and we're hypersymbolic. Why? I don't know. I don't know where the drive came from. It's so weird and so intense that I'm tempted to say it functions like a foreign influence, like an alien influence, like we'll make these creatures obsessed with symbols. So I think as soon as that influence went in, we would have been picking up twigs and like drawing circles in the sand over and over and over and over again. And in fact, when you take psychedelics, that's what your mind does. It creates shapes over and over and over and over again, and those shapes echo. So I think I was going to say it's a natural drive. I actually think it's an unnatural drive. I think it's like an alien drive, because there are very few creatures who do that. Very few other animals who deliberately create symbols. I think there is a fish that creates a symbol in the sand on the seabed, and the more beautiful the symbol it creates, the better mate it attracts. I can't think of any other animal who makes symbols other than us.
Nice. There's a quote. Yeah.
You didn't think we'd be talking about aliens in this interview, did you?
No, that's completely fine. I'm super open to that kind of topics, and I really like, sometimes I don't understand why people are like so ignorant. Like it's so obvious that we are living on this little ball inside of infinity, and like it's so clear that there must be much more intelligent civilizations out there. And so we can just start the discussion with that, like I don't want to discuss if they exist or not. Like they do. The question is much more, why don't they come here and stuff,
Yeah, and the word alien, like from what you just said, is wrong. I mean, a German is not an alien to an English person, to somebody who's from outside Earth. So whatever aliens come here, to an alien race above that alien race, we're all in the same section of stars, and we'll all be called F-19s. And we'll go, fucking hell, aliens. And then the other aliens will go, they're not aliens, you dickheads. They live in the same house as you. You're all F-19s. But they look different. So they're your neighbors, you plonkers. So there's like, even the way we conceptualize it breaks down and becomes ridiculous very, very quickly. That's why you have silly stories of flying saucers with little green men popping out of them. And I'm like, come on now, if you could travel across galaxies, why would you? You don't literally physically get in an airplane and fly from another star. You can't. Like, it can't physically be done. So yeah, no, I think the symbol creation is critical to what distinguishes us from other animals, and our propensity to create art is the same drive as our propensity to create language and to talk and to go blah 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 and make noises with our mouths. Which what do kids do? Tiny little kids, they point at objects and they go blah blah blah. Even if they don't speak German, they don't speak English, they just speak their own strange tongue that they make up. And then as soon as they can, they get obsessed with pictures, and then they want to draw pictures, and it gives them pleasure. It gives them great pleasure to sit with crayons and draw, because they don't know whether it's good or not, or what some art critic from 1985 said about using red crayons. They don't give a shit. They're just going, this is awesome. Me, I did my symbol. I did it. And that's satisfying to human nature to do that. So I think that's why we do it.
And I think when art students go to a school, exactly this with like this childish free thing is getting diminished. Unfortunately, like already when you go to normal school, so much of your natural beauty, intelligence is just being compromised, and you have to be like this and blah blah blah, and we don't love you if you don't, and it's horrible. But now we think like, oh, you're studying art, you're so free, you're like the fancy people. No, they go there and they are like, oh fuck, is this cool? Is this good? Is this like right? And they also start thinking about galleries and stuff, like doing products, like what's contemporary, what's the cool stuff right now, and like give it a twist. Like it was like there was a very famous artist from Germany who by chance saw my works, and I talked to him about it, and he giving me advice to like, just take 3 of your favorite famous artists and like he said something like, find your own twist in it, like just, it's really like, fuck, that's so sad. And he's a professor, he's teaching, like what the fuck. And there are so many professors who are like, holy shit. And I think anyway, like every art student or people who do art should just be their inner authority, because otherwise when the wind blows and you change, you never find a common ground for yourself. Like you have to decide, you have to know, you have to be honest to yourself and say like, this is shit or this is good. And
so then the same as I said about taking the kids away from social media, we should take 20 art students, put them in the wilderness. All they can see is woods. All they can see is stars. All they can see is the food they eat and each other's stupid faces for 3 weeks. And then you bring them back and you give them a pencil and a piece of paper and say, draw the weirdest, most terrifying thing from the depths of your soul to try and cleanse this perversion of what critics say, what professors say, comparing yourself to your favorite artists of all time, and the torture of trying to imagine what people will say about what you drew. I would hate to be a visual artist. I would rather go, I know nothing about music. I would rather try music. I think I would have an easier time. I think trying to do what you do would drive me fucking crazy. And other than that, the thing I'm most likely to do is writing. Writing is a piece of piss compared to what you do. It really is much, much easier and much less terrifying, because everything is derivative. Everything is derivative, and it's more guaranteed to make money, which is the ultimate in our culture, is the ultimate assignation of value is money. Well, if I write, I'll make money. If you don't make money as a writer, there's seriously something wrong with you. As an artist, Jesus, you've got a very good chance of not being discovered until 80 years after you were dead. That's no, it's a hard, it's a very hard field, I think, because it's much more. They say about the sense of smell, it's the most primal sense, because you're literally just taking molecules of whatever it is you're sensing, and the molecules are touching the senses. There's no interpretation in the brain, or there's less interpretation in the brain, I should say. Similarly with art, of all the creative modalities, it's the most direct. Like, you show me your artwork, I'm looking into your unconscious. You're totally naked. If you read a novel by me, I can do it in any style I want. I can make it a horror, a detective, whatever the fuck, you know, it's whatever. So it's a much more naked art form, artwork.
Yeah, I completely get it. Nice.
Mhm.
Okay, like you've been talking about the darkness and like sending 20 guys and telling them after the nature to like paint something dark, and I always had like I try to make the most beautiful what I can, like by intention. Like when I paint something, I want to like have a certain expression of, I don't know, like values of love, of beauty, of stuff like this. So we might ask what is beauty, and how is it defined, and can something be like Francis Bacon, you know, or what the 20 guys would paint after the forest, something horrifying like that. Could it be also beautiful, or like is it by
Yeah, my theory there, my hypothesis is that's just the exercise. So I take the 20 people and I say, now draw something horrifying and terrifying to you. That's just an exercise. That might not be the final piece of artwork, but that cleanses the palette. So we're breaking the boundaries. We're embracing the shadow self. We're engaging in chaos. Now that you drew the tentacled monster eating the woman and child as they scream in agony, now you can draw the beautiful flowers. Yay! There's, and I could be wrong. It's a school of psychology. It's a way of thinking about human nature in terms of cleansingness. Like the idea is that there is intrinsic poison and darkness there, and when we fight it, we get constipated and stuck creatively. And it's like, don't fight it. Just fucking get it out. Just express it. I mentioned Nine Inch Nails before. There are bands and groups like Rammstein, you know, the very heavy industrial metal. And when you speak to like managers and supervisors and people who cater for them, they always say the same thing. They're so lovely. They're so sweet. They're so kind. They're so gentle. And they say it to me like, you wouldn't believe how nice they are. And I'm like, I fully believe, because all the angst and rage and loathing is out. It's on stage. They're like vomiting on stage and cutting themselves and screaming. Yeah. You have nothing left. By the time you're done, you'll be like, good morning. How are you? I'm fine. Let's go take a walk in the park. I don't have any darkness left. So, you know, it's an idea. It's an idea that maybe this would help. Maybe get it all out of the way, and then you're free. You want to draw your flowers, you want to draw something beautiful, you can do it from total honesty. You can do it open-hearted with a clean heart.
Nice. I just considered going to a Rammstein concert, but yeah. Then I thought, I think I faced a lot of my darkness in the last few months, and so it's time to put some flowers.
If you ever do, or you see them again, you'll be like, aha, I see what they're doing. This is really helpful.
Yeah, I absolutely, I saw an interview, and they are super lovely and super intelligent, you know. Yeah. I think there's this like reflected way of like darkness where you just get it and you get, yeah, that's darkness, that's because of lack of something and blah, 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 and it's fine. And it's also fine to express this anger and hate and whatever. Yeah. But there's also like this lower, very bad metal bands who are like, rah, 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 and it's like, yeah, dude, come on, like, why? What you like? Maybe think about it. Like you write lyrics about darkness and suicide and blood and destruction, and like, wow, so epic. I think it would be epic if you just think about what you're doing for like 10 minutes, and then maybe come to a much more epic conclusion that you can. Like, transform this.
Yeah, upgrade the consciousness a little bit. It was always something that struck me about Trent Reznor and Marilyn Manson. You know, whether you like the music or you don't like the music, you hear them talk in interviews. These are not stupid men. These are not ill-educated men. They're intelligent. They're intelligent people. So yeah, there is a correlation there. But yes, as you say, there is another kind of metal, and I think, again, in my cynicism, I think that some of it is push button. So they know, if I come out on stage in a mask and if I sing about this and if I go whoa like this, I'm going to get the kids up and jumping, and I'll be able to fill stadiums with 20,000 people, which is going to make me a shit ton of money. And you can tell, like we said in the beginning, you can tell that. Well, I think I can tell the difference. I think I can see the sincerity or the lack of sincerity, the care for the craftsmanship, or just somebody who's on stage to make money from people who are naive. And it's there in the lyrical content, and it's there in the I think it's the spirit of it. The spirit of it is different, very, very different.
Yeah, I have a Marilyn Manson T-shirt, and I really like this guy because he's kind of interactively showing the shadow. So Donald Trump is not interactively showing the shadow. He's just like embodying it in like the subconscious, embodying this shit. But Marilyn Manson is playing with it. He's like, he's aware of it, of this shit, and like mirroring it in a very like obvious way. I think you could have amazing conversations with Rammstein or Marilyn Manson about life and about meaning, and I think they have much more to tell than obviously Trump or other people. And you've been touching on psychedelics, which is also, I think, an interesting topic, also regarding art. There always have been artists who like took drugs or like absinthe, and I think, maybe for me, for example, I cannot paint when I'm drunk, or at least not the way that I want to paint. Or so like I'm also thinking in like decades, and so I think like if I have to drink all the time, it doesn't work. Like if I can only paint when I'm drunk, or like get a certain level of quality, which is obviously like you change something here and like you don't give a fuck, maybe that's great but not for your health. And so what do you think about drugs or alcohol or like different states of consciousness regarding expression art?
I think it's going to be different person by person. It's going to be different, the modality, and you're here to transmit something. I'm here to transmit something, and your specific message has a specific tone and a color and a shape and a vibrational frequency. It's very you. What I do is very me. Like there's a consistent theme, there are consistent archetypes, there's a consistent, I don't know, morphogenetic field, if you like. And so it depends. So some people needed to be drunk. The Doors needed to take heroin. Jimi Hendrix apparently needed to take heroin. John Lennon apparently needed to take a lot of psychedelics and drugs to be John Lennon. So, which is, it is embracing chaos. For me personally, to do what I do, I don't need the drugs. I just don't need it, and I don't think it would help. But I have taken psychedelics, so I can't make myself have a flashback, an LSD flashback, but I can sometimes, if I need to. My LSD experiences were intense enough that if I have a problem that I'm wrestling with, I can go back and think, how would I approach this if I was on LSD? What does LSD tell me about this situation? What am I missing? And I can still access it, and it's useful. It's really useful. There's like getting an extra dimension view into a subject. So some of the psychological issues, if I'm hitting a roadblock and I'm like, fuck, what am I not saying here? This isn't working. It's not. Why have I stopped making progress? I can be like, okay, what does Flashback Jack say about this? And then I'll start to make myself not quite have a full flashback, but I can reaccess it. And it's like, oh, he says that it's this. And I go, oh, okay, I've got it. So maybe it was key to me being who I am today, but I don't need it. But if people tell me that they do, I go, fine. There seems to be certain types of music, certain types of artwork where it seems to be served by it. There are some actors who've claimed that their alcohol was really important to the performance. They were of a certain age. Anthony Hopkins, Richard Burton, Oliver Reed. Anthony Hopkins has just recently gone into rehab for alcoholism. So yeah, it seems to be a thing for some people, but not massively for me.
Yeah, like I have also experience with psychedelics and stuff, and it helped me sometimes to do art, but I just don't want to be dependent on it. It's like a little bit like cheating, I think. You know, like. You can like really get your shit together and meditate and be in a super high frequency positive state and feel ecstatic and then, you know, paint something beautiful, or you're just like somewhat like feeling mediocre and then just take LSD and you're gonna have amazing 10 hours in front of you. And so it's interesting, and it's also like what you said, you have this key moment and then you can kind of reuse it. I think that's definitely reality. Like I had some like key moments, and it's just there, you know, and it's just like some seeds, and they are like growing some kind of. And yeah, I think revelations about things also to just make you freer in your head, what you interpret as like valuable or something. And yeah, I think the mindset is important. And
interpretations of what is valuable was a recurrent theme in all my trips. I was always like, what's that? That's a symbol. What's it a symbol for? It's a symbol for whatever the fuck it was. And I go, why is that important? And why did we do that? Like if I saw this when I was on acid, I'd go, oh, that looks kind of Japanese. It looks like a symbol from the Tokugawa period. It looks like why is that there? Because it has meaning. Why does it have meaning? What's its meaning? Why is it red? Why is it spiky? Why? That would be me on acid. I would try and drill back in human history as to why, for example, this is red and it's spiked. So it kind of is subtly invoking a kind of violence. It's kind of like a power symbol. It's also on a white background. When is there red on a white background? You know, and what impact does that have on people? I was obsessed with that when I took acid. So the value that we ascribe to certain symbols was a key point of fascination, and it is something that we all need to consider, I think, because otherwise you end up just taking shit for granted and just going, oh yeah, well it looks like the symbol for an ambulance, you know, and just, you know, that you just write it off. It's kind of like, it's red, it's kind of a cross, it's on a white background. It's like a fucking symbol for, you know, so there's a lot of stuff that we're surrounded by that we don't think about, that we probably should, because my personal view is that we live in a very magical world. And I don't mean that in a Disney sense, like everything is magical. I mean, we are quite magic obsessed creatures. We use a lot of symbology. And the same people who would say to me, well, magic is a load of bullshit and you talking about aliens makes you look like a lunatic. When you actually look at how they live their lives, they believe in magic. They do magical things. They engage in rituals. They will, you know, say certain things. And you're like, so you don't believe in magic? No, I don't believe in magic because, I don't know, I'm an atheist. So you worship at the altar of science. I don't believe in magic because I'm a Christian. I'm like, Jesus was a Jewish Arabic magician who rose from the dead, and you don't believe in magic? That's the kind of fetishist split that I run into a lot. And I'm like, there's something there's something we're missing here, where we as a race, as a species, are acting like we used to know something and we've kind of deliberately forgotten it. And maybe that's one of the functions of the arts, is it can take us back to the things that we used to know and have forgotten.
I think there's so much that we don't know, and probably we've forgotten. And I think exactly what you said, art is the finger point to the moon. It can be pointing to something that's like, yeah, there's more. And it doesn't even have to like, and that's the secret now here, that's the solution. It's just a whispering, like a moonlight whispering, hey, there's something more. And for whoever like has to go what journey, everybody is, but it's just saying like, come on, 9 to 5 and all this shit, like really, maybe you go on an adventure, maybe there's outside there, what is this? And it's just this whispering. It's not even like it doesn't even have a goal for you, somewhere where you have to like, yeah, you reached it or something. It's just like go.
Yeah, it's goal-less. There's no goal. It's just the mystery, and the mystery is the point. There's no point except the mystery, and that, to the modern mind that is like the factory trained, goal orientated mind, is preposterous. Like, what a fucking waste of time. I need to linear go somewhere. And it's like, dude, that's your fucking problem. That's your problem, because you're trying to go along a line, but you're not a line, you're a circle. And they'll be like, what the fuck are you, what is any of this? I'm not a line, I'm a circle. You sound like you're on drugs talking like that. But that's the point, is just to hear the whisper of the mystery, and then to feel what it felt like when you were a kid and the world was a huge, mysterious place full of infinite possibility. And the adult world, like adults were infinitely powerful and they lived in this secret club. That's the point. That's the state that you want to go back to, because there is way more potentiality than we account for. We just shut it off and we shut it down over the years. Every trauma, every disappointment, every sadness, we shut it off. Every training, every goal, every exam that you went through at school. I mean, school is there to shut people down. It's to drive childhood out of children. It's to drive the mystery out of you. Sit down, sit still, shut the fuck up. What's the capital of Peru? And that's what it is. So that you can't have mystery anymore. So yeah, I mean, there is that side of it, that like people who are in art at least have the pleasure of every day.
Great. Yeah, nothing to add there. I just like to go back to the circle and the line. I think back again to go like art and being human and having like a life. You like when you suffered enough, then you will listen to weird shit like this, like circle, line, like no, I'm busy. But if you're like, oh, I'm dying, like nothing makes sense, like, and then like circle or line, oh wow. And actually it also makes so much sense because there are ups and downs. There, you know, good things happen, bad things happen. And you will suffer if you're only in like the personality, like I'm the avatar and today I win the quest and tomorrow I don't, and so tomorrow I have to suffer. And you can play this game and it's fine, but you can also just realize the consciousness behind the PlayStation who's playing. You're not just the avatar, you are the space behind it. And I think that's the circle thing, and I think that's so important for art. Like really, if I come up with some cool ideas, it's bullshit. Like I have to be this space, I have to be empty, I have to forget about myself to make something which I consider valuable, because otherwise for me art is just another way of entertaining the riches. And I think instead of teaching history of art or like skills and blah blah blah, we should educate to like find back to their inner child, to this playfulness, this like openness, like I don't care, like there's no right or wrong, I'm just expressing, and in a beautiful way, because you are like innocent like a child creating, but at the same time you're an adult, and so you can make decisions, and you know, you are reflecting on what you're doing, and you're reflecting your intentions, you're reflecting what's what the progress, even like skills building up, not because you train skills, but just by doing stuff, you just gather skills. It's not because you have to get the skill and then what you will do with this skill would be valuable. It's just like you value your shit all the time, and by just exercising whatever you do, you just learn, oh, this is happening with the color. Oh, interesting. Like on the next time, maybe this would be nice. Yeah. And you know, like it's a game. And I think today people taking this art thing way too seriously. They are so insecure that they have to, even before they start doing anything, they have to have an explanation why it's valuable, why it's sensible, why it makes sense. Maybe it's political art, or you know, like whatever. Like there has to be a story about it, and it's so, like it doesn't interest me at all. Like I've been thinking about taking a photo of a piece of dog shit and then making it like this big format, and next to it another big format, which is just written like, I don't know, 5,000 words of explanation why this is a good artwork.
If you ever do that and you need help with financing it or writing, please tell me. I will help you. I will help you so that we can just say fuck you to all these fucking idiots, because somebody will stand there and go, here's the dog shit, and then it's big. It's expanded. It's like the shit of culture. Fuck, you know. Some idiot will buy it. We'll make like whatever it costs. I'll make like triple the money back. Some fucking idiot will put it on their wall. What's on your wall? A big piece of dog shit.
Oh my god. Yeah.
What you said about doing the art is so important. There was an ex-girlfriend of mine, one Christmas, she learned how to do stick figures on Microsoft Paint or something. And we did Christmas cards with these stick figures, and they were quite funny. It was quite good. And she could do them really quickly. And I said, how did you learn how to do this so quickly? And while she was doing it, so she was in an altered state, she just said to me, I learned via the magic of doing. And I was like, fuck, that's such a profound statement. I was teaching martial arts at the time, and I started teaching that to my students. You're going to learn how to do this via the magic of doing. I went back to her and I said, you know, I say this to my students because you said it to me. And she went, I never said that. I never said that. She said, that's really clever, but I definitely never said that. You made it up. And I was like, you fucking said it. You know, you talked before about channeling and altered states of consciousness. She learned how to do something that was quite artistic. She did it by mistake. She just learned how to do it. And when I asked her to explain what she'd done, she just from this altered state of consciousness said this really profound thing. That's how it should be done. You should learn by the magic of doing. And it is magical to just do, to just get on with it and not worry about being criticized and marked and ranked and all that shit. Just do it. Just get on with it.
Amazing. You said also something about money. I think the art world and the art market is also like, yeah, there are gallerists who I think really don't give a fuck at all about art, and they are just businessmen who find out that it's a good market. And so it's also very sad to see, like, because they kind of decide what's in on what sells and all this stuff. And I think art is becoming dumber and dumber because
it will. I guarantee you it will. Everything will get worse because of capitalism and because of money. I learned this in the self-defense industry. When I worked in martial arts, I learned a rule. If the guy or the girl is a good martial artist, they will suck at business. If they're good at business, they will fucking suck at martial arts. That was always true. And I was like, I have to find a way to balance in the middle. It's true of life coaching. It's true of psychologists. It's got to be true of the art world. And yes, over time, you will devolve, because only the worst amongst you will succeed. You have to be a piece of shit, really, and you have to be cynical. No, you don't. I mean, look, you as an artist, and the same, like I've trained some psychologists and some life coaches just briefly recently. There are things that you need to learn about business and about marketing. Otherwise, these people are going to take over, and yes, it will get dumber and dumber. You're 100% right. Look at films. Look at how bad films are becoming, and how hyper normalized shit filmmaking is, so that we all sit there and go, oh, that was good. That was an 8 out of 10. And I'm going, 20 years ago, you would have said that was a terrible fucking film. And the thing that annoys me the most about films getting bad is the special effects have got better. The budgets are higher than they've ever been before. And we have great actors. It's not the actors and actresses' fault. It's the writers. Writing is free, but that's where the real craftsmanship is. It's not in the aliens rubber mask. I mean, that's great. Well done, makeup artists. Well done to you. But you don't believe that you make the film. And it's not even the director that makes the film. It's the writing. It's the dialogue. And it's so fucking bad. Why? Because of exactly what you just said. There's a devolution where it's what your game, the game in town is what markets. The best marketers win. The best business people win, not the best artists. It'll never be that in this current economic frame.
Yeah, I mean, that's very sad, but it's true. And I've been super hippie, and I, like, with the time I realized, no, if I really want to have an impact and really want to do my shit, I really need some money, I need some comfort, I need some, just to rest myself and blah, blah, blah. And so I started to think about it, manifest it, and, really like say, no, that's my life, I really want this, and blah, blah, blah. And magic happened. Like, if you believe in something, life will give it. Like, people are so afraid of living, they don't take the first step, and because they think they will fall. And if you believe you will fall, you will. But if you just believe that every fall that happens is just a catalyst to grow, everything will make sense and everything will come together. And also the manifestation. I mean, like, I have my own atelier here. It's quite a good space to work here. But it was here all the time, and I believed in this. I just believed in it. And it's not that I said to myself, I want to have time to work. I don't want to have to go to a shitty job with some assholes and make $10 an hour. All this kind of things. It's possible. Like, we have to really, like, the creative, alternative, whatever people, they should like engage in spirituality, like whatever that means. You don't have to take the cheesy bullshit. Just take for you what works.
I would say, yeah, with the spirituality, and don't go cheesy. Go for that which helps you to be strong and to be tough. There is a video that's going viral on YouTube. It was recommended to me yesterday. It's only been out for 2 weeks and it's already got nearly 1 million views. And it's called "The One Key Thing That I Learned That Helped Me Gain Success." And basically this 5-minute video is all about a concept called commitment. And people love this video. And the guy just says, you need to be committed. And that means sometimes things hurt. You make sacrifices. And people have gotten so disconnected from that simple truth that a video that states something, because to me that video was like, yeah, and guess what? The water is wet and sky is fucking blue. But people are like, in the comments are like, fuck, I didn't realize I've been living my life wrong. And I'm like, Jesus, what are we training people? Like, how are we raising people now where to have what you want, yeah, you have to commit, and it's going to be bumpy. It's going to suck at times. You sacrifice. You don't get to do everything and have your favorite job. Like, if you want to do your favorite job, you have to work at it. And as you just said, you gave it a spiritual reframe, which is, if I fall down or something fails, it's only one more step on the path of success. Okay, that's great. That means you have a paradigm of resilience for when things suck, and they will suck.
Yeah. When I started this journey, it was really like coming from a nice place to live and suddenly paying this, because to really be free, I was living in a container, in an overseas container for 8 months with no windows,
Jesus
you know.
Christ.
No, really, but I had and also I bought a piano for €1 on eBay, and I had an old wooden piano inside of this container and my canvas, you know, I had enough. I didn't give a fuck.
This isn't the 18th century, dude. Come on now. I could just see you in the dark by one candle, just playing your piano in the container.
That absolutely happened more than once. Yeah, and I mean, if you go through this kind of shit, it's mind-boggling, and you I drank too much, and it was a fucking dark time. But if you go through this, then after this, you have respect for yourself.
Yeah.
I think when you have respect for yourself, you can also have more respect for others, and see more of what people go through and what this makes to you. And I think faith is something that is very valuable, and it has nothing to do with the church or with religion. It's just the faith for goodness, the faith for this is not just a alien universe, lonely dark place, and things just happen. And I just have this one life. No, there is a point to it, and there is a meaning or beauty or something, you know, not giving up, not being nihilistic and say whatever, I don't care. Yeah, let's build a wall. Yeah, Trump is great. Hate those Mexicans. It's just no, that's just because you stopped believing in something, you know. And it's understandable if a lot of shit nowadays happens to people. And so you get hurt, and the society doesn't teach you tools how to evolve, how to we teach children so much shit, but we don't teach them the simple emotional regulated tools of, you know, how to cope with things.
No, I think there's a lot to that. There's a hell of a lot to that. I suspect that what's happening is that the ancient ancestors of Mexico are now rising up in this particular moment, and that psychic energy is just building. And he's build a wall to keep the magic out. Let's put a wall there and put mirrors across the wall so it bounces all the magic back out. There is things are changing. Things are definitely changing, and there is going to be people who don't want it to change, because when it changes, they'll be washed away. We won't hurt them. Nothing will happen to them, but they will not be given any more time and any more attention anymore. They will just cease to be of importance, and they're shitting themselves. They're terrified, because they know that the change is overdue. But it's coming. It's definitely coming through. But yes, you're right. We should be training people to be resilient. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so keen to get people off social media, and why I say it really isn't great. And even the good stuff is not worth what it does to you. It really damages your self-esteem. I'm a 40-year-old man. I've written books. I've traveled around the world. And you know what happens to me when I scroll through Instagram, looking at pictures of sexy girls and dogs that are farting? My self-esteem goes down, because I represent millennia of evolution. I'm an apex predator hunter-gatherer. I shouldn't be on Facebook looking at what my fucking friends had for lunch this afternoon. It damages my self-esteem. So when I came off it, I did it as an experiment, and I was like, what's happening to me? What is this feeling? I respect myself. I was like, wow, I've been on Facebook for too long, because it just crept in like so many things. I found out that I hadn't not logged into Facebook. I hadn't missed a single day since 2008 to 2019. I hadn't missed a day. So that's God called Facebook with my life, with my life's blood. That was my Aztec sacrifice. That was my blood sacrifice, was feeding that God for fucking 11 years. And it was just slowly killing my self-esteem. When I came off it, I went, fuck, I feel better. So you're right. The experience you had in the container with the piano and the single candle, that's now you. And nothing can take that away from you. That's now a part of you. And when a bill comes, or a critic says something, or whatever, you can go, I'm not living in a container, so fuck you.
Oh, great. Yeah, I think there's so much more we could talk about, and just to go back to the Facebook thing, I realized by myself in the last few months how bad I feel when I'm on Facebook, and I didn't really think about why. I just
Yeah.
realized it kind of makes me nervous, or like there's some pressure or something,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's also a different thing. Like if you from person to person, it's a completely different thing. You're not this anonymous whatever thing. You are here, and like it's direct. And Facebook is so like schizophrenic. I don't know, and also this sameness of values and of what's in and what's selling and what's your age group and what's blah blah blah. All this normalizing you as a role given by whoever is, I think, hurting in some way.
It shrinks your soul. There's a spiritual element to this. It shrinks your soul, and it damages your will. It diminishes your will to life, your will to thrive, and shrinks the soul. And when your soul is shrunk and you're not in your body and you're not present, you don't really know what the fuck you're doing. And you're so much easier to lead, and you're so much easier to be wounded, and you don't know how to heal, because you can only really heal if you're present and you're in your body, and you can only really heal if you love yourself and you think you're worth healing. So I'm really strongly against it. I work with people who are like, oh, it's okay, but don't use it too much. And I go along with them, but I'm like, we don't need this, and it's really fucking hurting people. Anything that damages your core sense of who you are and that shrinks your soul, that's fucking no good, man. That's no good at all.
Maybe just one last question,
Sure.
because we've been talking about art also in very emotional ways, and I think art as a therapy, and also as an expression of the subconscious shadow, that would be a topic that I would like to address with you.
Yeah, I've never done any work with that, but I think it's an excellent. If I knew how to train it, if I knew how to teach it, I definitely would, because I'm sure it would be an excellent tool to aid people in their recovery. It does the artistic process that, or I should say, the creative process. It does something to you that is healing. And I don't know why. I can't put words to it, but my experience of writing the poetry felt like there were tiny little splinters in my skin, and they'd gone septic. And writing the poetry just moved them all. It just pulled them all out, and it healed the skin, and the skin just healed over. And I was like, God, that's really weird. I didn't even know I had a problem there until it went away. And I was like, fuck, that feels so good. So yeah, no, I'm very open to learning more about art therapy and even creative writing, or music, or anything that lets the individual express their creative energy. I think is going to be very healing. Yeah.
Okay. I'm super happy about this talk. I think we could like talk about so much more, but I think 1 hour 40 is is good for today.
We went for some time. I'm supposed to go and look at a property this afternoon as well, so I should really go soon. But I've really enjoyed talking to you. It's been a really good talk, and I'm sure people will find some value in it too.
Yeah.
And if they don't, they can go fuck themselves. I'm joking. I hope everybody enjoys this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm super happy about your work, what you do. Thank you so much for going your path and finding answers that make sense to you, and going with the heart and the mind and the spirit, maybe.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And yeah, let's keep on moving in a positive way and a positive direction. And thank you so much for this interview.
Cheers, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Okay. So I will stop